Hi, I'm Rosie. Welcome to my podcast called Yoga Pose. I'm Yoga Pose. My family used to call me Rosie Pose. And I feel like their nickname made me destined to become a yoga teacher. These episodes are a chance for me to share more of myself and my journey, as well as the benefits of yoga and meditation as I see them. So expect stories, sutras, and jokes, because I think I'm pretty funny and laughing is going to help us loosen up. Yoga isn't a game, but there's no reason we can't play. So being playful stops us striving, and we become explorers simply for the pleasure of it. This Yoga Pose podcast episode is called Enough. Enough, I mean, in terms of complete, rather than I've had enough. The word for enough in Latin is satis, which is no doubt where we get the word satisfy from. You might have heard your teacher say that you are enough during a quiet moment of meditation or contemplation. And it's a nice thought, that I don't need to constantly strive because I'm fine just the way I am. But for me, enough is the wrong word. I think that saying I'm satisfied would be far more meaningful, because feeling satisfied is a game changer, especially for a perfectionist. Someone as highly strung as myself. I can always do better. The class I taught last year, I would not dream of teaching now. And perhaps in a year, I will feel the same about my teaching today. But I'm satisfied with how I'm currently teaching. I feel satisfied with how people engage with the posts and articles that I write, and how many people subscribe and listen to this very podcast. Nothing is sufficient for the man for whom the sufficient is not enough. That was Epicurus. Ancient Greek names I'm not great at. Epicurus? That would be nice for a cat, wouldn't it? Anyway, those were his words. Nothing is sufficient for the man to whom the sufficient is not enough. Now, Epicurus was an ancient Greek philosopher, and unfortunately he was writing at a time that predates women. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have worded his wonderful quote slightly differently. I have tried and tested it, and I can assure you that also nothing is sufficient for a woman for whom sufficient is not enough. So, are we there yet? Are we there yet? The internal chorus from the back seat of human evolution. Are we happy enough, rich enough, strong enough, informed enough? Well, the answer is yes. And now we can get on and start enjoying life. The desire for more, for upgrades, promotions, and pay rises creates problems for our ancient brains. They get overexcited by the neon environment that we have built for them. We are developing ever more wants, and it in turn invents more must-haves. You might have seen even in sale rails in shops or those sidebars online which say, "Get it before it's gone." There's an urgency to our desires, and that can never be sated. So we do have to find a new way to do things. I'll give you another quote now. Our enormously productive economy, it's quite a wordy quote, I should say. So let's go again. Our enormously productive economy demands that we make consumption a way of life, that we convert the buying and use of goods into rituals, that we seek our spiritual satisfaction and our ego satisfaction in consumption. We need things consumed, burned up, worn out, replaced, and discarded at ever-increasing rates. I didn't say it was a depressing quote, did I? But it is a depressing quote as well. Sorry about that. It's hard to hear. And what's harder is that these words were first uttered by Victor Liebel. You know Victor, the former director of Fabergé in 1950. Honestly, the amount of reading I do, I find such obscure things. Those words, those very accurate and, they are depressing words, were first uttered in 1950. That we seek our spiritual satisfaction and our ego satisfaction in consumption. That we need things consumed, burned up, worn out, replaced, and discarded in ever-increasing rates. Imagine what the comment would be now. Old Victor, what would he say? I look back at my university days with fond memories, because I was often so hard up for money that window shopping became a great pleasure. There was nothing I could afford, and I couldn't be tempted or feel I was missing out because there was simply no way I could buy anything. And this is what John Naish calls enoughism. I actually didn't need anything I was looking at. And back then, my financial situation was driving this. But the feelings have largely stayed with me, even over a decade later. I'm pretty good at replenishing only when something is worn out. Or I'll make an investment in like a winter coat because I know it's going to last me decades. Economic science has long tried to explain the consumption behind growth. One of the earliest attempts is Say's law, which explains that supply creates demand and why we buy many unnecessary things when we get extra money. So I know I'm having a bad one when I'm in a bookshop or a charity shop that sells books and little plates that I can put my indoor plants on. I don't need any more of either of those things. Anyone who's been to my house can confirm I have a lot of plants and a lot of books, but I can't resist. And I've realised that, when I am having a bad one, I'm tempted for those things and I'm trying to say actually another need, which is invariably more complex. So a plant plate is just the easier option. Get a plant plate, don't have to deal with whatever the horrible issue is. And if I can just nourish myself with more plants, then everything's going to be okay. A study was done by the University of London to measure happiness and material wealth. It found that seeing friends and relatives most days is worth the equivalent of a pay rise of over £60,000. That's something to reflect on when demands at work are high. No one ever empties their inbox or completes their to-do list. So when you finish your working day, take a moment to feel satisfied with what you've achieved. Why not? What's the alternative? Finishing and thinking that you've done enough? If you're a type A personality, so highly organised, you're ambitious, impatient, learning to feel satisfied is something you want to put your type A personality effort into. I think most of us would identify as possessing these traits. You want to be the best and feel a sense of achievement. What I'm suggesting is to make your hobbies or sports and work sustainable is to learn to feel satisfied. No one ever looks back on their week and thinks, I really wish I'd done, just worked a little bit more, seen less of my friends. That would have been a good week. I'm going to finish with the Sanskrit word of santosha. And it's useful, it's relevant here. This word is divided into two parts. San meaning completely or entirely. And tosha meaning acceptance, satisfaction, and contentment. Do you know what? The Sanskrit language is so detailed, but also so efficient. That one word means so many different things. It's a great language. And together, those two words, san, meaning completely, entirely, and tosha, meaning acceptance, satisfaction, and contentment, they create a word that means complete acceptance. Santosha can be a difficult concept to wrap your head around, particularly if your personal story is filled with negative thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'm too this, or I'm not enough of that. But now you know the word, santosha is something you can start to put into your yoga and meditation practice and everything in between. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening, if indeed you still are. You can visit doyouromthing.co.uk to see my teaching timetable, workshops, and retreats. I would love to connect with you in person. This podcast is about building a community, so keep reaching out to me. Do Your Om Thing is my Instagram handle and Facebook page. Before you go, think about your karma, okay? You've enjoyed this episode, hopefully as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. So help a yogini out by sharing and leaving a review. I read every single comment and they inspire me so much. I'm not kidding, please leave a review. Don't make me sell out and get sponsorship and do adverts. Thank you so much for listening to Yoga Pose.